We're talking actors and directors who put on the shows.
We're talking playwrights and designers who you'll want to know.
From the very first rehearsal to the final curtain call.
We might be off Broadway, but we're talking about it all.
'Cause we're two local gals
with global pals. It's everything, everything, everything theater.
with Benita
And Ellen. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Theater Podcast, the podcast where we talk about
Everything Theater. Hi, everybody. I'm Benita Zahn.
And I am Ellen Cribbs.
And we're back in our separate silos. Last time we were all together, Ellen and I were at Proctor's Theater interviewing the incredibly talented cast from Parade, which we both had the opportunity to see the show afterwards. And wow, huh?
Yeah, beautifully done. And an important story to see. I'm very glad Proctor's brought it in.
Yeah, and they started their tour here, and I don't remember the exact numbers, Ellen. I think they're out for 9 months.
Yeah, 9 months.
Yeah. So, that show arrives with a woof when it comes in because it just gets you by the heart. I'm going to use that as my transition to introduce our guest for today because Tanya Gorlow came in with a woof to the Capital Region. And she really did, arrived here, in 2022, then takes the stage by storm last year and her turn as Lillian Hellman in Little Wars at the Sand Lake Center for the Arts, which now, drum roll please, Tanya's just taken over as the executive director, replacing Brian Shields, who was their first. Welcome, Tanya.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me on. It's an honor.
So what was the appeal for you to come to the Capital Region? Your background is in, helping small businesses develop their business strategies, marketing.
Sure. Yeah. So I worked for Dun & Bradstreet for, I think it was over 7 years by the time I left. And I was in charge of marketing for the small business division. I was in LA for over 20 years, and I had been doing a lot of theater in Los Angeles. And, most people go to LA to do film and television. And while I enjoy doing film and television quite a bit, I really, really love the theater. My partner is a musical theater writer. He was getting his MFA at NYU Tisch, and we made the decision at that point that once he finished his degree that we were going to move back to the East Coast. And I mean back for him. He grew up in Chatham, New York. So that was kind of the impetus. And then that was in 2019. So we had a little interruption to our plans. And in 2020, we were able to actually fully make that transition. The intention was actually to come here and then move closer to the city because of Carrie's writing partners and that sort of thing. But once we got up here, we were in Hoosick Falls for 2 years, and it just took my breath away. The entire Capital Region is just stunning, and it felt like home right away.
We grew up, Tanya.
Oh, I grew up in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So there are similarities in just kind of the expansive, beautiful landscape that is staggering. So I think that might be part of why it feels like home here, even though I haven't been here that long.
So then this opportunity presents. Share with all of us, what's the appeal of going to the Sand Lake Center for the Arts? One, and then I always joke, reporters should never ask 2 questions at once. I learned that, but I'm going to. So what was the appeal? And then we'll talk a little bit about your vision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So the appeal, when I did Little Wars, it was just a really wonderful place to be. Everybody was so kind, they were welcoming. The center not only does theater and has a really interesting theater space that could be used in a lot of different ways, but it also has a gallery, and we have a musical program, and there are workshops, and we have a youth program. So the idea of taking on something that was not just a theater, but was an entire community center was really exciting for me. I feel like one of my kind of reasons for being in this world is to be creative and also to help foster community. So that was really exciting for me. And I think that as far as vision is concerned, I really want the center to continue to be a kind of an epicenter for community. And the more that we can be involved with other organizations, not just in the Sand Lake area, but in the 518 area, you know, I am open to partnering with other arts organizations even further than that if the opportunity presents itself. I think is really what's going to keep us moving forward. And I say all that with the caveat that I am very, very aware that I am working from a very solid foundation with this organization. And that was another huge part of the appeal. I am not coming into an organization that, you know, doesn't know where its next meal is coming from. This is an organization that has a wonderful board, had great leadership under Brian Sheldon, has wonderful volunteers, wonderful sponsors, and that to me is exciting because I get to build on it rather than coming in and being my joke has been, and if this isn't appropriate, feel free to cut it, but my joke has been I don't want to come in and be the Sand Lake Center for the Arts Messiah. Like I'm not interested in saving the center. It doesn't need saving. I'm here to help continue its mission and to help it grow and to one of the things people have said to me more than once is, oh, the Sand Lake Center for the Arts is a hidden gem. Well, I'd like it to be less hidden. And that is not to downplay anything that was done before. I know that Brian worked very hard to get the word out. He is very active in the 518 community and is in fact doing a show here later this year through Harbinger. So if I can put a little promo in for him, I'd love to do that as well. But everything that I'm working from is really wonderful and very stable, and that's a gift for anybody coming into a leadership role.
It's funny how you say the hidden gem, because every time I bring someone to Sand Lake Center for the Arts, and it's different people all the time, they always go, "Oh, I didn't realize it was so close. I thought it was forever away." And I think there's this misconception that you guys are in the boondocks, but you're really not.
Yeah, but you know, when you get out here, it's quiet and it's you know, it does have the feeling of being removed without actually being that removed. And I think that that kind of contributes to the misconception that it's out in the middle of nowhere.
You also have very good baked goods. So come on, everybody, just get in the car, save a few calories,
Yeah.
and go have a little dessert. You know, that's not
Yes.
enough to get you out there.
Right. And I think it's Gipfel. I'm going to butcher their name. The coffee shop across the street. If you have the opportunity to go there before a show, wow, really good coffee, really good snacks. And the Sand Lake Merchant also across the store has some really fun stuff. So if I can put a plug in for them, I'm happy to do that. We do a makers market with them in the spring. And I believe we do one in the fall or winter as well. I think we're solidifying a couple things there, but they're wonderful, and that market is really something special. So
I want to go back a peg. Are you going to be
sure.
producing, you know, like an Albany Civic, for example, or a Schenectady Light Opera, or are you really now a hall for hire?
No, we will continue to have a season that is our season, and obviously, if there are other folks who want to come in and do work, we're open to conversations there. But we will continue to have a season. We have a season set for 2025, and that was set before I came in. So January 31st, we open A Raisin in the Sun, and that's directed by Aaron Moore. And I kind of came in the middle of Aaron doing all the wonderful things that Aaron's doing. So I hope I'm not being too disruptive to him, but he's doing incredible work and his cast is really, really strong. And yeah, it'll run for 2 weekends. So anybody who wants to come to the little town that is not that far away and see a really excellent production of A Raisin in the Sun, please do so, because it should be incredible.
You're producing something with your partner, with Carrie.
I am in something. I am
So that's right. You
thankfully
have a
for,
producer. You're in it with.
yes,
Yes.
yes. For
Macbethany at the Fort
yes,
Salem Theater.
yeah, McBethany at Port Salem Theater. So David Dubois Flynn wrote that. He is a writer director out of Massachusetts, and he's also the one of the co-artistic directors for Bennington Theater, and just an all-around lovely human. And then Kyle and Jared from Port Salem are actually producing that, and I'm very grateful that they are, because I'm, you know, obviously shepherding our shows for our season over here, so that takes a load off me.
Tell us a little bit about it.
So McBethany is and you're gonna have to forgive me because I'm in the center, so I can't say the origin play, but McBethany is a modern day prequel to the Scottish play. If either of you are not in the theater, you can clue the audience into what that is.
We talked
Look it
about it
up.
enough. I think they know that Shakespeare play.
Yeah, that very dark and moody Shakespeare play. So it is based in Bethany Beach, Delaware. It's a two-hander, so it's a couple, Mr. and Mrs., who have come to their usual beach house for a long weekend. And basically, the events that transpire are the lead up to the Shakespeare play itself. So that's it in a nutshell without revealing too much.
And this is not a world premiere. This has been done.
I don't think it is. I
No?
don't think it has been done. We've done readings of it. We
Oh,
did a reading at the Bennington Theater last year, but I don't think that David has ever put it on its feet. So I do believe this is a world premiere, but that I'd have to check with him on. So sorry, I
I
don't
did a
know.
little Googling, and it must
Yeah,
have
a
just
little
been
Googling should help.
must have been just a reading. And you're doing it with your partner, Carrie.
Yes, Carrie is playing Mr. And I am playing Mrs. And part of the marketing is watch a real life couple kind of take on the roles of
And you
this.
have to pronounce Carrie's last name because it's a lot of non-vowels.
It's Kazmarovich Trim,
See?
and it took 9 years for me to get that right. So
And I've acted with him, so I just call him, Carrie K.
Carrie
But
K.
yeah, our Carrie Kaz works too. His website is carriekaz.com. It makes it easy.
And when does that go up?
So, that goes up early March. I believe it is the 7th, but I can tell you for sure. Yes, March 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Now, going back to Sand Lake Center for the Arts and what you were talking about, fostering a community, I think that's, when we talk about community theater, it's a word sometimes that maybe gets a little overlooked.
Over.
The importance of creating a community, not just doing shows, but being a outlet for the community to come in, to be a community, to work together, to enjoy together, to learn together. So what do you think Sand Lake does so successfully that creates that community, or what are you looking forward to adding to what they're already doing to make that?
I think that we have been very fortunate in that the entire theater was built for the community, and I shouldn't say theater, the center, because the theater is part of the larger center. So it was built for the community, by community members. So it was never built for like one single purpose or one single person. And that's really unique, I think. And I think, by having the community involved in kind of every aspect of its life cycle, we've been very successful in helping the community invest in it. When I was building processes back in this is so delightful to say, my former life as a corporate person. One of the things that I learned the hard way is that the only way to get processes adopted is to have buy-in from the folks that will have to actually follow the processes. So from the beginning, talking to them about what they need, what's working and what's not working, and getting them involved. And I think that Sand Lake Center for the Arts has been very good about including the community in the evolution of the space itself. And I would love to see that continue. The more we can involve the community itself in how we move forward, the stronger we're going to be as an organization. Now, that said, I think that there needs to be order to the chaos, right? So the way that I have run my teams in the past, and I hope that I can help run this theater, is I am open to the best idea. I want to hear everything. I love brainstorming. I love collaborating. I love talking about stuff, but there has to be one arbiter that makes the decision about how we're moving forward. And I might not always make the right decision, but you need leadership in order to make strong decisions and move forward with them. So that's what I hope I can do moving forward. And that's not to say that Brian wasn't doing that. I want to be very clear there. It's just my personal leadership style, and having never been led by Brian, I can't tell you whether that's different or similar.
Is there something when you look at the space, what they're doing this season, that immediately, or as you've been there a little bit now, presents itself to you and you say, gosh, we haven't done this, and I think this is an area we're ripe to explore?
Yes. And it has less to do with the idea that anybody missed anything and more to do with my own personal tastes and proclivities towards certain types of theater and art. So we have a couple other organizations in the area, like Arts, Letters, and Numbers, etc., who are all in this kind of Sand Lake, Averill Park hub. And I would love at some point for us to do a collaboration where we do some version of some kind of traveling performance, whether it's over a series of nights or over one night, where you come here and you have cider and cookies and you get one part of a story, and then you go someplace else and you get, maybe a little beer or wine or like sparkling cider, and you get another part of a story, and that it evolves and that the entire experience is told in all of these different places. That said, I haven't talked to them about it. I don't know if they're open to it. But I like the idea of us as different arts organizations coming together and creating a piece of art that can only be created because we're in the proximity to each other that we are, because we're all in the same community, and telling stories that are really unique to this area. And again, I haven't run this by them, so this will all be news to them if they listen to the podcast. But that's the kind of thing where I would like to dig into it in a way that I don't know that we have done so far. And it sounds like everyone I've talked to in the area so far, and again, I haven't talked to them, has been really excited about the idea. But it's a lot of work to do that kind of thing. But it's the sort of theater that I get very excited about personally.
I love that.
You also have a background involving film.
Yes.
Does that play a role? Is there a space for that space? And I mean it in the figurative sense, the rather than you're going to have a lab there, but is there a place for a film here, or is that something you might choose to pursue independent of SLCA?
No, I'm not a writer and I'm not a director. I'm almost exclusively an actor and a producer. So I think for any kind of piece of filmed media, having a really good story and a really good director/direction to it is really important. If somebody in the 518 film community had something that they were really excited about, and had a vision for how the center and the area tied into that, I am absolutely open to having a conversation about that 100%. That said, Benita, I do like theater that involves multimedia aspects to it. I don't think that all productions are right for that, but I do think that there are some that really lend themselves to having different layers of perspective to them. And I think that having projections or a monitor on stage or different, even a live stream between what's going on stage and what's maybe going on in another place, tying those two stories together can be really powerful. But again, I don't think, like, for example, and I'm just going to pick something, and I don't want to pick anything from our season, so I don't have a director calling me and having a panic attack. But let's say something like Lost in Yonkers. I don't know that Lost in Yonkers would have been the right kind of show for something like that. But I do think that there are shows where you can get really creative. And if
Sunset Boulevard.
What's up?
It's Sunset Boulevard. The new
Yeah,
production in New York City. It had been done so
yeah,
many times in a certain way, the movie, everybody had an idea. And now it's done, it really is a dream. It's a memory play.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's how they presented it.
Yeah, and we saw a production in Angeles of Grey Gardens where they did a lot of projecting onto the set, and that was really effective. Um, that we just really liked as well. And but I do think that I'm not going to impose that on a director, right? I think the director has to be excited
Well, I think
about
what
it.
you're hearing is that your door is open to it. But if the door is
Absolutely.
open to it, what kind of changes are necessary at the theater to affect this if the next director comes and says, I have this idea?
Here's the problem slash gift of new technology. I don't know that we need to do a lot. We have a projector. We have a screen that drops down. We do have some monitors. I have an iPhone, and it's not. There's not a lot that needs to change. I am aware of and have loose connections to the 518 film group, and I know that there are people out there with much better cameras than my iPhone. So we can, and this is true for any film production, like, you don't want to go out and buy a bunch of cameras for one thing, right? So we can beg and borrow as far as getting the equipment that we need. But as far as actually putting it on stage, I think we're actually in pretty good shape. And that's just because the technology has become such that you don't need to go out and spend, several $1 million to outfit your theater for that. Um, that said, there were a lot of changes during the pandemic, with theaters finding ways to become more accessible. And I had a really interesting conversation when I worked with Butcherbird at a woman who's working through Harvard about making theater more accessible moving forward and using technology to do that. And I would like to continue those conversations with her. I don't know what that means for Sand Lake Center for the Arts specifically, but I think any way that we can make art more accessible to people, not just who necessarily have disabilities, but people who have financial hardships and can't access the theater, either because they're too far away and just even paying for the gas to get here is too much to ask. I think that there's a lot of opportunity to make sure that folks can enjoy the arts in a meaningful way on many levels. But I don't have the answer for that. I just know it's something I care about. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I thought you were gonna ask a follow-up there, Gamita.
When we're side by side, even there sometimes, Tanya, we walk on each other, or we give too much space. But this is, yeah, okay, it's yours, Ellen.
Yeah, well, I was just actually gonna, speaking about how you said we have all these resources in this great capital region, I was gonna throw out there that like we just posted for the Capital Region Festival of Theater, the One Act Festival, that
Yes.
we're asking submissions for people to up to 30 minutes to present a one act at U Albany on June 15th. So this is my little plug for that, and also to get Tanya's ear on it.
Yeah, for sure. That is very exciting, and I did see that. And so yeah, I'm gonna put my thinking cap on for that and see what Sand Lake could hopefully contribute.
And it doesn't have to be a one-act play written as such, does it, Ellen? It could be one act from something that, wow, has always moved you, or you've thought about, and it's, a thought-provoking piece.
Absolutely.
Well, I do think I put in an application for that, for something that Barb and I have been thinking about. I just before I say too much about that, I need to check on a couple of things, including licensing, and we can take that conversation offline. But I am hoping that we can get involved specifically with the thing I've already applied for, and then maybe with something else. We'll see.
Yeah.
How much space does the new job allow you to perform?
Well, I had already committed to McBethany before I took on the role, so that will be an excellent litmus test. I do know that as far as the theater itself is concerned, Brian acted and directed and did a variety of things, and everything that's been communicated to me is that that is definitely still welcome, especially because part of the role requires that the person who is in it continue to stay very connected to the community. And it's hard to do that if you just live in your little bubble and are always just asking for things, So I think that the desire from the larger organization and the group is that we continue to give to the community and to participate in the community as much as possible, and that includes me. So that said, I have an ever-growing to-do list, and there might reach a point where I'm just like, there are too many things I need to do right now to commit myself to anything other than this. And I think it's going to be a balancing act, but I do know that, performing brings me a lot of joy, but so does producing, and I'm getting to do that with the shows that are coming through the center. The directors do a lot of work, and Aaron, I just want to make it very clear that Aaron Moore, I am not producing Aaron Moore's show. He is, for the most part, produced the entirety of it, and I'm hoping that at this point I'm being helpful to him rather than a hindrance. But Peter, who's directing our next show coming up, Brighton Beach Memoirs, he and I are having a meeting next week, and we'll see how I can be helpful to him there.
Well, we've reached the point in our episode where we have our last 10 minutes, and we shift focus a little bit here to talk just about you, Tanya. This is our close-up segment, speaking of Sunset Boulevard. So, Tanya, are you ready for your close-up?
Yes, Mr. DeMille.
So what was the moment in your life when you just knew, I have to do theater?
It actually happened pretty young. I started doing an acting class, and I'm using air quotes because it was basically theater games, when I was about 5 years old. And I was a pretty quiet, pretty shy kiddo, and it was like a switch was flipped where I felt like I was able to express myself in a really meaningful way. And I do find that, and this is not exclusively true, so no disrespect to my extroverts, but I do find that a lot of actors are introverts, and that they step on stage and they're able to tap into part of themselves that maybe they kind of keep under wraps most of the time. I don't think the person I am on stage is anything like the person that I am as a professional and a leader in the world. I certainly hope not, especially anybody who saw Red Maple. I'm sure they hope not either. But but yeah, it was young. It was in my little acting class in Pleasanton, California, and at the community center there. So,
What show has had a big impact on you, whether it's something you worked on or just saw?
uh, oh man, I said this in our little newsletter that just came out for Sand Lake Center for the Arts, which you should subscribe to, and you can on our website. Um, but I'm gonna repeat myself. When I was in Los Angeles, I produced a version of Hamlet where I played the lead character as well as producing the show. And the through line of the show is there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And I was at a particularly dark part in my life. And so that thought that there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so was incredibly important to me. And so we played around a lot with like perspective and layers. And one of the coolest moments was the way we did the ghost scene was it actually was it was a projection of something that I had filmed when I was outside of the theater. So I come running into the theater. We had this big barn door, and you rip open the barn door, run in, slam it closed. It's a very small art space. The audience is in the round, and I run up to the computer and I plug in my little handheld camera, and it starts projecting the scene. So on the screen you've got the ghost, and then you've got me reacting to the ghost because I set up the camera so that you can capture me, and this was pre-recorded obviously. And then you've got my shadow from the lights for the theater, and then you've got me on the stage. So there are three Hamlets watching the ghost, and you've got my reaction real time, you've got what it looks like in shadow, and then you've got the reaction from Hamlet who saw the ghost. And I just really love that show. I love doing it. I don't think that Hamlet is a particularly likable character. Um, but it was interesting to explore how somebody that I didn't particularly like and respect actually had a lot of overlaps with myself. And as an actor, there's a lot of introspection that had to happen around like, okay, I think I'm a good person walking through the world in integrity, and yet I'm finding these overlaps with somebody that I feel like doesn't walk in integrity, but they think they do. They have a lot of conviction that they do. So anyway, I could go on about, we could have an entire podcast episode about that and like research we did on the show and things we found out and how Hamlet's been done in the past because I really dug into it. But
Isn't that
I'm
really
sure you have other questions.
isn't that really the essence of what good theater is, or what theater is to make us think and explore and review. Let's
Um,
think and feel, right?
yeah. Well, and some of the you know some of the kindest things I've heard from people, and maybe not so kind things, were from that show. I had a friend's mother who was an actor and a director who I grew up respecting very, very much, say that while she was watching me on the stage, that she's known me since I was a child, and she's like, I didn't recognize you. And then I had my dad say, you were the best Hamlet I've ever seen in my life. You were a complete and total spoiled brat. Thanks, Dad. So
I think that's a great place to wrap it up.
Yeah, definitely. This has been so great, and I cannot wait to see all the amazing things that Sand Lake Center for the Arts has in store with you at the helm.
well, thank you. I hope I don't disappoint, but I know the center will always dazzle, and I will try to live up to the good work that's already been done.
And sign up for your newsletter.
Yes, please. SLCA-CTP.org. I'm gonna get it right. So
Wonderful.
And
Great legs on this fabulous new first season for you, Tanya.
thank you so much. Thank you.
And on that, thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch you next time. I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And I believe it's on. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Everything Theater podcast. Special thanks goes out to Alice Grinling for our photography and Justin Friello for composing our amazing theme song. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to share your thoughts or what's going on in your theater community, you can reach out to us on social media or through our email at everythingtheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, it's everything, everything, everything.